So, Bitcoin, if you hold Bitcoin or you intend on buying Bitcoin, you probably like what's happening right now with Bitcoin. It's up to roughly, I think it's about 27,000 right now, value. Last year was pretty bad for Bitcoin. And I think the years prior to this year, I think you really saw Bitcoin and a lot of cryptos really tied in with the market, which made people really nervous, myself included, that perhaps it wasn't as decentralized as we wanted it or expected it to be. But now with all these this bank collapse looming on us, you see it kind of going the opposite direction. So hey, maybe I got to eat craw a little bit on this one. That maybe it's a little more decentralized than I had originally thought. So let me pull up. I got a small article about this. This is from BNN Bloomberg. I don't whatever. I don't really do much or look at much from them. But here we go. So I'll go through this a little bit. It says Bitcoin believers revel in "told you so" moment. Yeah, of course they do. Okay, as members of the media lingered near the entrance of the headquarters of Silicon Valley Bank this week, a Bitcoin true believer seized on an opportunity. Okay, so very quickly, apparently some guy rented a truck and said, "Be your own bank." He was promoting Bitcoin. So following an epically awful 12 months for the cryptocurrency industry, Bitcoin evangelists are having a moment. Not to mention a huge rally in their favorite coin, which has soared more than 30% in the past 7 days. Pretty big. Uh, as the original white paper proposing Bitcoin put it, in the wake of the global financial crisis, the traditional system works well most of the time, yet it still suffers from the inherent weaknesses of the trust-based model. I don't want to go into this whole article. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of like it's just it's fluff essentially on this. It doesn't go much into why or any of that kind of thing. Um, but let me see. I think at the end here, I read this quick. At the end here, okay. Our current broken financial system is Bitcoin's best marketing, and the Fed is at its ad agency. Uh, an anonymous artist told Bloomberg. So I think, yeah, I think if you're kind of looking for an alternative right now, um, because realistically, where do you put your money right now with everything the way it is? I mean, the banks are scary, obviously. Stock market's pretty scary. There's market manipulation like crazy going on all the time. What do you trust? So I know a lot. I actually know people personally that are taking their money out and just kind of like just holding on to it, and not doing anything with it. I don't necessarily think that's a great approach either. I think when the market's down, you should be buying. Um, but it really depends on what you think the long term strength and recoverability of the market is. And if you really think that the market itself is broken, which I don't know, it's like for me, it's kind of like the end of the world, doomsday sayers. There's always a new one in the horizon. But if you look cyclically, with the market at least, there was always a crash. There was always something. It's almost as if it's like every 10 years roughly. You had the 2000 plus, then you had 2008. We've had a little bit of a stretch since then. I mean, if you want to drop COVID into that, it kind of it was an artificial destruction of the market. But you know, let's even just say 2020. So you got 12 years, you had 8 years. Prior to that, I don't even know what the one before that would probably sometime in the late 80s, I'm guessing. But it's cyclical as far as when these sort of collapses, whether they're giant or giant to one sector happen. So I don't think it's the end of the world as we know it, but this could bring on CBDCs, which are centralized bank digital currencies. China already does something to that effect. I'm not exactly sure how widespread it is in China at this point. I know that there was a whole province that was sort of using it, and they've been using it for quite a little while. These get scary because the idea that you have a digital coin that is is now being used as currency takes away any kind of control that you might have as an individual purchaser, as an individual person in general. Just you have a coin that can be literally shut off by the government, or they can manipulate it in different ways to make you spend it if they don't want you to save. they want to drive the market or they want to drive the economy in some way, they'll just say, hey, look, these coins are going to expire or they're going to devalue over a time period, or maybe you don't share the proper ideologies of your government, and uh, and you protest or you do these kinds of things like we've seen with some of the COVID restriction protests, and they decide they're going to just shut your money down. We saw that with bank accounts, where they're freezing bank accounts or stopping GoFundMe pages for truckers here in Canada when they were doing that trucker convoy. So there's a lot of scary stuff that can happen with that kind of thing. I know a lot of people might be okay with something like that because they have a trust for the government, but I think anybody in the know that understands that um, you know that trust that you might have now can very easily be turned depending on whatever way the wind blows as far as what the government wants to do. For example, lockdowns, things like that. So I personally just prefer control over any of that kind of thing. So